Hi, my name is Lauretta Ali, and I am the founder of Lali Productions, and we're working on a new documentary where I will be interviewing young people from high schools and middle schools, both the young people that are bullied and the bullies at hand. We're going to deal with each individual with a lot of care and compassion, because we understand that there are reasons why children are bullied and also reasons why children bully. That documentary will consist of myself, Lauretta Ali, Roderick Scott, who will be doing the camera work, Stephanie Scott, who will be taking pictures, and Naeemah Ali, who will be our record keeper at that time. It is our desire to take this video throughout the school system, and then to also be able to hold forums in different towns across Georgia where we can have the young people meet and discuss this situation, because it is not only a nationwide dilemma, it is a worldwide dilemma. And to help you understand better why I decided to forego a number of other projects that we were going to produce right away, I want to explain to you through my article, Bullying A Worldwide Dilemma. And to first understand the actual practice of bullying, I had to search for a clear definition of the word and what it actually means. Bullying: constant criticism and nitpicking without empathy. The characteristics: control freak, constant denial, appears charming and glib, a compulsive liar, devious, manipulative. He or she is a person who makes himself or herself a terror to the weak or defenseless. Now, I can recall one of my own first experiences. I was 8 years old. My brother and I had just been reunited with my mother after spending our earliest years in various foster homes. Our small apartment was in the Christopher Columbus Projects in Paterson, New Jersey, on the 12th floor. And even though I had been in foster homes from the age of 3 until that time, I had always lived in houses. All of a sudden, I found that I had to live in a large 15-story concrete building with a number of other families. I found out later that taking the elevator to our 12th floor apartment was an ordeal in itself. But that is another story for another time. Even in the 1950s, most children had two-parent households, even in the projects. So when my mother, a single parent, brought my brother and me to school that first day, we stood out like stripes on a zebra. Within days, we were constantly asked where our father was. Of course, when we asked our mother that question, we were often met with the back of her hand as the answer. So the repeated nagging from children we didn't know was the last thing we needed. I also had the disadvantage of being extremely light complexioned with sandy colored hair. I had been in school since the age of 4, and it wasn't until I entered the hell of PS number 4 that I heard myself described as half white, rock jumper, yellow, and or red, and whatever else that was used to let me know I was not only different, but unacceptable. Thus began days of fighting and winning battles until my brother and I decided school was a place we would just stay away from. We missed an entire month of school hiding the letters from our teachers. We spent our mornings spending our lunch money on Yahoo and Mountain Dew drinks, Hostess Twinkies and Yankee Doodle cupcakes, and watching Top Cat and Mickey Mouse cartoons. Eventually, my mother was contacted in person, and the secret was out. She carted us back to school and beat us in front of our teachers and classmates. To this day, she has no idea what chaos that caused us. It certainly didn't make us want to go to school, as we now had to be reminded daily of what we looked like as we received blow after blow in the presence of children who tormented us to begin with. Bullies can take the fun out of school where bullying happens most and turn something like a simple ride on the bus, stop at a locker, or walk to the bathroom into a scary event that's anticipated with worry all day. Sadly, bullying is quite widespread. Now, according to an old 2004 Kids poll, 86% of more than 1,200 9 to 12-year-old boys and girls polled said they'd seen someone else being bullied. 48% said they'd been bullied, and 42% admitted to bullying other kids at least once in a while. In order to address the issue of bullying, we have to determine why it happens and what are the major causes. Why kids bully? There are many reasons why kids may become bullies. Bullies frequently target people who are different. Then they seek to exploit those differences. They choose their victims as those who they think are unlikely to retaliate. That means children who are overweight, wear glasses, or some have obvious physical differences while they're in puberty, like big ears or severe acne. And those are often common subjects for ridicule. But the differences don't have to be just physical. Children who learn at a different pace or are anxious or insecure can also be targets for bullies. Now, I can see why, as a child, I was a prime target for bullying. As an African American child in a largely black environment, the projects, my light skin and hair made me so different. Then I also wore glasses since the age of 4. I was prematurely developed after years of sexual abuse in foster homes, and I was always anxious and insecure. My brother, being dark complexion, avoided much abuse from other children. His fights largely consisted of defending me. And many days we spent back-to-back fighting children we thought of as just plain demons in disguise. Taken from the findings of Jennifer Schroff Pendley, Ph.D., in November of 2004, there are signs that can alert us if our child or children are being bullied. Bumps and bruises are telltale signs. Yet inventing mysterious illnesses to avoid school, like my brother and I did. Missing belongings or money. We constantly gave up our lunch money until we decided to skip school and spend it on ourselves. Sleeping problems, bedwetting, irritability. No chance of that, because my mother's butt beatings was a real attitude adjuster. Poor concentration and unexpected changes in routine. In my mother's defense, she was a hard-working single parent. She often worked 2 jobs, she refused welfare, to provide us with plenty of food and clothing. I fought bullies on a daily basis, yet this became a nightmare. My grades would fall off and I would suffer my mother's discipline, which made the bullies' beatings seem like a mere slap on the wrist. So I began to befriend a few of them. I found that my new friends would often take on their fellow bullies and administer to them what I had often received from the culprits at hand. And these friends would appear to be well-mannered and wonderful. My mom had no idea what they were really like. My new friends would appear charming and likable. They were practiced liars who would tell my mother whatever she needed to know. Some did not have the food or clothing that my mother worked hard to supply us with. Now, that isn't saying their parents didn't work hard, yet most children in the projects at that time had families which consisted of many of them in the household. My mom was raising my brother and me, so she would often feed our friends. and these friendly bullies would demand to wear my clothes, and they also demanded any money I had. Of course, they threatened to turn against me if I didn't do as they asked. Now, this article wasn't written to put down children who live in the projects. Putting people in high-rise concrete living quarters and the havoc that creates can be addressed at another time. I'm writing this to appeal to all of us to look into and address the issue of bullying. Children should be able to go to school to get educated grammatically and intellectually. School should be a safe haven for learning and not a day-to-day struggle just to make it out of the building alive. When my brother and I attended, we dealt with fists, kicks, blows, and devastating words. Today, children deal with knives and guns, and the playing field is now a deadly one, and we can no longer stand by and allow this to happen. My experience with bullying led me to be a parent who would not tolerate my own children to go through this. It never mattered to me whether or not I was addressing another child when it came to my own. My son was raised in a largely Latino community. Because he was quiet and studious, he was often called the Spanish name for someone who was considered as gay. I forget the name now because it made me furious so many years ago. It took a lot of prayer and reasoning with my own person not to feel hatred toward every Latino person. Because as a child, my own tormentors had been in the African American community, and years later, my daughter, an honor roll student, had to contend with much of the same. And when her grades began to suffer, I sat her down and talked to her. She admitted that bullying was just about killing her. She felt she had to let her grades go to fit in and protect herself. I accompanied her to school to face the guiding counselors and the principal. I was told that the culprits would be brought into the office and that I should be still and let them handle the situation. I could not believe my eyes. My daughter was 12 at the time, and the two girls that came into the room looked and acted every bit of 18 years old. I jumped out of my seat and told them that if they ever touched my child again, I would kill them both on the spot. And I am sure everyone in the room thought I was crazy, but I didn't care. This was my child. This was my past confronting me. I saw my own fears, my own pain all over again in my own daughter, and I couldn't and wouldn't bear it. I'm not saying that I handled the situation with bullying correctly, yet I refuse to allow bullying to destroy my family. Thank God we are not raising a family of bullies, and we as a family don't tolerate it as a means of hurting our own. It has to stop, this issue of bullying. We have to begin to put an end to this, and it has to start one family at a time. It has to start with yours in mind.